Hey, I'm Cecily Korst. Welcome to the trailer.
The Trailer Talks is sponsored by Imaging DNA. Find out more at imagingdna.com.
Hi, I'm Kirk Bowman from artofvalue.com, and what I like to do is help freelancers and business owners learn how to switch from hourly billing over to value pricing. Basically, you shouldn't price something based on some arbitrary hourly rate. You need to figure out what the value is to the customer and then set a price accordingly.
Cool. So it's like a holistic kind of approach instead of a little systematic kind of approach.
Yeah, basically we say price the customer, not the service. So even if you were going to do the same thing for two different customers that may be in similar industries, you're still going to price it according to what's the value that individual customer is going to receive.
Right, because it'll be totally different what I would do for somebody in the music industry versus what I would do for somebody who's like a national speaker.
Exactly. Or say, for example, you had two print shops that were a mile from each other down the road. They are in business because they each have a different value proposition, and they need to be pricing based on the value they're creating for their customer, not based on, business cards are always X number of dollars.
Right, because no two jobs are alike.
Exactly.
Got it. Awesome. So describe your journey to this point.
So I've had a software business for 18 years. In fact, I've been self-employed all of my life except for 1 year. And in that software business, we billed by the hour for the first 13 years. Then about 4 years ago, I sat on an industry panel that was on estimating and billing practices. And I was the advocate for hourly billing. And there was another panelist who was an advocate for value pricing. And based on what I learned from him, within 3 months, I committed to switch my business over to value pricing within a year. And we did make that switch.
Cool. So how does that process work? How do you figure out what something is worth?
It really involves learning how to have what I call a value conversation with a customer. And it involves how do you ask great questions? In fact, I tell customers, if you come to me looking for great answers, you're looking for the wrong thing. What I do is ask great questions and help you bring out the answers that you already have yourself. And so it's learning how to ask questions such as, why are you doing this now? Why not 6 months ago? What's the outcome that you want to achieve? If you could wave a magic wand and solve this problem, what would that outcome look like? It's asking those kind of leading questions and then listening and digging deeper.
You sound like you're also a serial entrepreneur on top of being able to help other entrepreneurs bill. What's that been like for you?
Well, it's interesting. I grew up on a family farm, and so I started working in seventh grade during the summers. And I never set out to be my own business owner, but what I've realized kind of after looking back is that being self-employed was something that just came natural to me because I've seen my grandfather and my dad and my uncles do it. And so when I never was really scared of doing it on my own, but I also didn't really think about I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I just said I need to do this to make a living. And so it's just kind of in my blood. But yeah, my wife says I would probably get fired if I had a real job.
I know I would. So who's your typical kind of client?
My best customer is a small business owner, somebody who has maybe between 5 and 25 employees. They're typically a service business, or they have service as a pretty significant component of what they do. A lot of times they have their way of doing it, and so they need software to be able to manage that process. Now, that's in the software business, but those are the people that I love working with because I'm working with small companies that are growing, but they're able to make a decision to move forward. There's not a lot of bureaucracy, and those are the people I love working with. And to be honest, those are the same kind of customers that I love to help with pricing too, because those are the kind of people who are willing to try something new and make a change, and they don't have to go through layers and layers and layers to make a decision.
So what do you think resonates most with your customer base?
As far as art of value goes, I think the thing that challenges most people is, what do I charge? How do I set a price? And when I visit with customers, 9 times out of 10, what I find is the issue is not picking a number. There's a question or an issue behind it. It could be as simple as they don't believe they create value. They actually don't have confidence in what they do. They've never thought about what they do is creating value. Or maybe they don't really have a good perception of how does the customer perceive the value they create, or they've never thought about asking the question. So it's really more on the value side, where I love helping people out. And I've just, I love seeing people's lights go on. I had a guy recently who was doing an online course, and he was kind of getting started. And he basically sent me a thank you note. And he said, "Look, you told me that I was as good as the guys who'd been doing it." And he said, "I believed that, and now his course is rocking, and he's making money doing it."
What was this whole past year's pinch me moment?
I think for me, it happened in the summer. I don't know if you're familiar with an author by the name of John Acuff. He's written a couple of New York Times bestsellers, one called Quitter and another called Start. And he started a private Facebook group back in July. And it was basically to kind of get people who are dreaming of doing the thing they really want to do together and encourage each other and build on each other and help each other out. And it was that group that gave me the courage to actually launch Art of Value. And so that was kind of the pinch me moment. But that moment probably ran over about 90 days from the time it started. But just the connections I've made there. In fact, a lot of the people that I had already met at New Media Expo were people I'd met through that group. So it was that whole experience.
What is the hardest part of what you do?
The hardest part of value pricing, I think, is having the courage to have the value conversation with the customer. It's a different way of talking to the customer. And for a lot of customers, they've never had anybody have that kind of conversation with them before. And so you'll find some customers who are very open to it. You'll find they actually love talking about it. There are others who are resistant. And of course, I find the ones that are resistant may not be a good customer. But it's just having the courage to try something different. I remember the very first value pricing proposal I did. I basically had done discovery for the project and was about to do the development phase, which was a lot bigger. And I basically, once I looked at the value, I doubled the price that I would have charged, and the customer accepted it. But that took a lot of courage.
So what is success for you in the future?
Success for me in the future would be basically to help a lot of people embrace value pricing, to be able to learn how to have the value conversation with their customer, to be confident in the value they create, to actually ask the customer about the value from the customer's perception, and then tailor what they provide. Come up with creative ways to actually offer more value. Try to find something that you can offer the customer didn't even know they wanted that you can offer to them. And when you do that, then you have an opportunity to price in a way that you never could before. So the more I can help people do that, the better.
So you're an advocate for success for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people just don't price. And I think pricing is a skill that can be learned just like anyone who's creative practices their craft, whether it's photography or acting or singing or whatever it is, they practice the craft. Well, pricing is a skill that can be learned. And when you base your pricing on value, you have an opportunity just to hit things out of the park.
So you don't advocate or you don't recommend that web designers have like a price list on their website?
No, because when you put a price list on your website, you're already setting a context for the conversation before you've ever talked to the customer. The favorite question that I get asked is, "What's your hourly rate?" And my answer is, "I don't have one."
Wow. And the conversation from there goes how?
Usually there's a pause, and then they go, "Well, then how do you charge?" And then it's an open conversation for me to go, "Well, I want to learn about what you need. I want to ask you some questions. I want to spend time up front getting to know, and then I'm going to come to you with some options and some prices that will give you some choices."
Are there any real sticky points, or what's your best advice?
My best advice is to learn to ask questions and then listen. Learn to ask the question in 2 or 3 different ways and learn to ask a follow-up question. Learn to ask open-ended questions. I think the best thing you can do is learn to ask great questions, because the better you get at asking questions, the better information and answers you're going to get. And the better information you get, the more you can help the customer. And that's what value pricing is. It's about discovering what's most important to them. And sometimes they don't even know. I tell my customers, I say, look, even if you don't wind up hiring us, you're going to be in a better position after talking with us because of the great conversations that we have. I mean, we actually, some people will do, discovery or scope of work type stuff for free just to get the business. We don't do that. We charge for it. We believe there's value just in that. We've told customers, if you don't hire us past that, you're going to be in a much better position to move forward, because you're going to know a lot more than you ever did before.
Throughout all this, who is your biggest advocate?
I think there were two people. So one, kind of my mentor in this, was a guy named Ed Kless. Ed is a director of partner development for Sage Software. Sage Software is about a $4 billion a year software company. And Ed happens to live about 5 minutes from my house. It's an interesting story. There's a website, verisage.com. And Verisage is a think tank to help people learn to adopt value pricing. And I found their website, and I found Ed's name, and realized he lived 5 minutes from my house. And so I invited him to lunch. And so we built up a friendship, and he basically was a mentor for me, now a friend. And the cool thing is based on that relationship, I've actually become a practicing fellow at Verisage too. So Ed was probably one person. The other person that I want to give a shout out to would be Ron Baker. Ron is the founder of Verisage. He's actually written a book called Implementing Value Pricing, and Ron has been just a good friend and advocate as well. So both those gentlemen.
Cool. So where are you going from here? I mean, it sounds like you're neck deep in all of this.
Yeah, basically, right now I'm kind of got one business that's going, the software business, and then I'm got a startup, which is Art of Value. And really what I want to do is allow the software business to help grow Art of Value. With Art of Value, I want to get into more speaking, writing, and so on and so forth. And 3 to 5 years from now, I would love for that to be what I'm doing full time, because that's what I'm passionate about.
Awesome. It sounds like you're passionate about helping people more than anything else.
Yeah, and especially with value pricing, because the one thing you can do to improve your profit more than anything else is increase your price. And so if I help people increase their price, I've helped them increase their quality of living. I've helped them have an opportunity to give more, to save better for the kids' college education, to hire other people. It's amazing. There's a study that says that a 1% increase in price can lead to as much as a 10% increase in net profit.
So where can people find out more about you and your services?
So you can find out more about us at artofvalue.com. And you can also find us on Twitter at Art of Value.
Do you do any webinars or anything like that?
I do. In fact, on the website, we have some videos of some webinars that I've done in the past, and I'm probably going to be doing some more later this year. But yeah, there's at least, I think, 3 or 4 videos up there right now where people can go and see some of the things that we've offered in the past.
Cool. You'll have to let us know when your next webinar is coming up, because number 1, we'll take it, and number 2, we'll put it on our Facebook and tweet it out.
Well, I certainly appreciate that.
That's awesome. So one last question.
Sure.
What is the one thing that you think everyone should know about living life creatively?
Face your fear. If you're not scared of what you're doing, then you're not pushing hard enough. And so whether that's, how you're priced, or how you're pushing your craft, or whatever it is, face your fear. Fear is something that's healthy in a sense that it lets you know you're growing. So I would say that, and that's speaking to me personally, because constantly facing that fear is something that we have to do every day as creatives.
So very cool. Thanks so much for being on the Trailer Talks. I really appreciate it.
It was fun. Thanks for having me.
All right.
the advocate for hourly billing, and there was a I am so sorry.
I knew it.
That is
I
funny.
knew it. I knew it. It was like, oh, you had to pull up, right? Good job, man. Good job. Oh, please get out of your car quickly.